an Indian designer. Her name is Anita Dongre. The way she has created her empire, starting from a small fashion studio, now she also has a environment friendly factory back in India. She has also, luxurious brand which is Anita Dongre label. I would say if you don't have immense patience, then don't do it.
Growing up in a culture of hustle, I have always admired those who choose unconventional careers, succeed, and lead fulfilling lives doing what they love. My ambition is to follow this path, and I know many others share this goal. This podcast is my way of exploring the lives of these individuals, sharing their journeys and perspectives on life. In this first series, I'm engaging with fellow Desis who immigrated to the US and are pursuing the classic American dream through hard work. I'm Jay Desai, inviting you to join me in discovering the stories of Desi hustlers. If you know someone whose unconventional career path inspires you, please reach out at pod.dhustlers@gmail.com to share their story. Again, it's pod.dhustlers@gmail.com. Now let's dive in. Today's guest is someone I have known since childhood, but only really got to know in the last 5 years after moving to the US myself. Rutu, originally from Ahmedabad, India, is a talented fashion designer currently building her brand AurabyRutu out of Santa Clara, California. She moved to US in 2015. Tune in and enjoy the conversation as we explore her journey. So, what was your reason to come to US?
For my master's back in India, I did it in fashion and apparel design. And here it was more fashion business focused, which was merchandising and retail management.
So, you learned about design back in India and more about business and design in USA. What was your reason for choosing US?
I would say that I wasn't very well researched kid, like
Okay.
how people, like how kids are these days. I was looking into Europe options as well, because fashion is more relevant over there. That part of world is famous for fashion. But one big reason was that I was getting an OPT for an year here after my masters. There, I think it wasn't very clear about the employment opportunities. And I had someone who was at the time studying jewelry design over there. She was struggling with job. So that was one reason, one. And another reason was I was very young when I decided to come here. So I guess I had my cousin here already in Texas.
Share your initial experience of moving to US. I know you moved to New York directly. So how was life?
Perception of US is what we see in movies. At least back then it was like that for me. I am a huge Bollywood movie buff. So when I landed in New York, and I had my father's acquaintance picking me up from the airport. And when when I was going to their house, I felt like, oh, where are these tall buildings? Because it was in Long Island. As you would know that there are no tall buildings over there. It's only the Manhattan or the New York City part that
Mhm.
has
Right.
cluster of buildings. So yeah, that was my first thought. Of course, terribly homesick for sure. But the first day of college, a friend of mine came to drop me to college just to show me how to use the metro and buses, and how to find understand the streets and avenues of New York City. So the first time when I came out of the Grand Central Terminus, my mind was blown away because I had never seen something like this before in my life. Very
So that was your first experience
organized.
of your
Yes.
movie
Yes.
scene and the real life.
I kept looking up. I could not see like straight because everything was so tall and so organized in a way. Like New York City is, in a way, a grid structure, right? So I was just amazed by the architecture.
Yeah, I love that about New York City too, the grid
Yeah.
structure. Why
Mhm.
did you choose to be in the fashion field? I know your father is a lawyer and so is
Yes.
your sister now. Why did
Yes.
you choose this field?
I think it has more to do with my mother's side of family, I guess, because they were into, like, my mom is very artistic, and so is all my masis and my nani. So they used to do a lot of hand embroideries back in time. Like when I was growing up, I saw them doing a lot of hand embroideries. I can't pinpoint that that was my motivation, but I think kind of the genetics worked in its own. Yeah, I was very interested in the craftsmanship of, like, the embroideries and how the clothes are made and all of that. Growing up, my sister and I never wore any Indian traditional clothes which were bought from the store. It was always customized by my mom or my masi. Sorry, interesting story about the fashion designer world. I did not know what it is called. Like, I liked all these things, but I did not know that it is called fashion designing. A friend of my father used to get Gru Shobha magazine at their place, and we used to go, and the magazine had like 5 6 pages of fashion dedicated full page photos, and I used to always see that, and there I saw the word fashion designer because they used to mention the name of the designer. Since then I started saying that I want to become a fashion designer. I don't know how old I was, that seed was planted, and I just took it from there and I never changed.
Since your dad is a lawyer and all these fields are very conventional in India, which is in our generation growing up, it is you either try to become an engineer, lawyer, doctor. Those are the things they are asking you to pursue. So when
Yeah.
you decided to pursue fashion designing, were you encouraged, discouraged? How was the reaction from your
I
parents?
I wasn't discouraged for sure, but I wasn't encouraged as well. My dad tried to give me a lot of logic about how I would be successful if I had become a lawyer. And he would, like, sell me in a way that, we get these many holidays in a year. We don't have to invest a lot
Hmm.
in terms of the business itself. Like, it's like our intellect that we are selling. So
Right.
everything you
No
earn,
upfront operational cost.
right, everything you earn, you can term it as profit, almost everything. Yeah, work life balance, because I would see that his work life balance was great. So yeah, he would sell that to me. So in Ahmedabad we have 11th and 12th standard. We don't have college. So after 12th we have to decide to go to the college for undergrad. So there was a time that, because he was, telling me all these things, I was like, okay, let me try. So I got my admission in BCom for an year. But by end of that year, I told him that, I tried and this is not something I'm really interested in. I want to pursue fashion designing only. So since I had tried, then he was very supportive. Like, and my mom was the happiest because she always wanted me to do whatever I wanted to do. So once I said that, oh, I tried and I can't do this, then he was very supportive. He was there with me to look for good schools and scopes in fashion designing. He would, like, find his own contacts and take me to meet with people who were in the field. So yeah, then it was all good.
So he played typical lawyer card trying to convince you with logic, and you played typical student or emotional card saying I
No, I
tried
guess
and it
I
did not work out.
I guess I also have that genes of lawyer in me, right? So, like, I was like, okay,
Oh,
you are giving me logic, I'll also give you logic.
you did your fashion designing course, and was the course in India helpful in the sense, because I asked that because a lot of other fields like engineering and all, we still think that the degrees in India are just degrees, right? You don't
Hmm.
really have a lot of learning. Is that same for fashion designing?
Yeah, it depends on the college you go to. But where I was, can say that it I really got the knowledge of the basics of sewing and like clothing and textiles in general. So that way it was very good. Like my base is very strong. But the only thing I still feel that if I would have gotten better education in that part, I it would have been better is the software part. Because when I moved here, I saw that this part of the world uses many softwares that we were not taught back in India. We were taught like only one or two softwares, and that too like not in a very rigorous manner. It
So
was
when
just
you
a
say
course.
software, you mean like editing software, photography,
No, like
soft.
Adobe
Got it.
Illustrator
Okay.
or like Photoshop, because those were widely used here when I moved. We learned a different version. Like in India, Corel Draw works very well. So we learned Corel Draw, and Swantex is a pattern making tool that also we learned. The emphasis was not greatly put on those courses.
Fashion designing doesn't necessarily mean it's only going to be clothes, and it could be many other surfaces or materials.
No, it doesn't. It definitely doesn't mean just clothes. They also teach us about weaves. They also teach us about different kind of textiles, or like embroideries are one of the surface ornamentation techniques. So you can apply that to any textile related field. So we had people who were just working into textiles, and they wanted to go into home furnishings and stuff. So yes, it doesn't have to be related to clothing only.
Okay, so coming back to US, so when you decided to do your masters, what were some cultural shocks that you had in US?
Something I don't understand till date is I don't know why people like,
I,
fill their cups, yeah,
ice
with
water.
ice. Fill their cups with ice and then like pour some water and then sip on that ice the entire day.
Yeah, that's something that even I haven't been able to understand. Maybe we should. What else?
Yes. Yeah. And another is, I mean, they were like, they work in pounds. The unit of measurements are different here compared to back in India. The Celsius and Fahrenheit difference. So I still don't understand Fahrenheit very well. Pounds I can now. One very funny thing was, so when I moved from India had these, I don't know if it is LPG, but yeah, the gas car, like gas run engines in cars. Here, people call gas, so they we call petrol and they call it gas. So for the longest time, I thought when they say gas is like gas. It's not petrol. I
And
always
it didn't help that you didn't own a car in New York, so you never
exactly,
had a
yeah.
chance to figure out.
Exactly. So after 9, 10 months, I was visiting a family friend again in Long Island, and they were like, "Oh, gas," and they say like "gas pura ho jawanu hai." So I was like, "Okay, let's go." And that is when the bubble was burst that oh, gas is petrol. It's not gas. Some linguistic differences. And the games. I struggle understanding the games as well because the I think the Indian UK side of games are like different
Right,
and
like
they are
football
registered.
and soccer
Yeah,
and cricket and yeah,
yeah. Other than that, I was a very curious person and I wanted to take it all in without any biases. So other than that, I did not feel that culture was extremely different because I what I felt was human nature is same wherever you go. So I was more curious about the buying patterns or how people would react when put in certain situations. So for example, everybody loves discounts back in India and here
yeah.
as
Right.
well. They react to love and affection if you give it to them.
Hmm. Coming from India and Ahmedabad, where you lived most of your life, I know you visited Mumbai a lot of times,
Mhm.
but wouldn't New York be like a Disneyland of fashion for you where you're seeing so many different things? How was that?
Yes, it was great fun for me because New York is a place wherein people can wear anything and everything and nobody will judge you. So I love that kind of places because my husband jokingly says that ऋतु का fashion दिखता है समझ में नहीं आता है at times. So for me, it is, as you mentioned, it was like a Disneyland for me. So I already had the knowledge about the fabrics and embroideries and all of that. But how people used it here was a little different from India. So, say for example, people use a lot of bright colors in India. Here, they don't use that many bright colors, but yet the techniques that they use on their clothing and how beautiful it looks, that was, like, in a way a change for me. Like, the color palette was extremely different from what it was back home.
We have so many festivals and all of that, and we celebrate very differently in different states, and it's all very colorful usually,
Yeah.
right? That is the focus, and even clothes tend to reflect that. How do you find a balance? I know you miss India too, but how do you find a balance between the Indian and American way of living now that you have lived most of your adult life in US? You
Yes.
said you came here when you were 21, now you're almost 30, meaning, there are certain Indian things that you like, oh no, this is the right thing to do, this is what I would follow, versus there are a lot of new things that you'd have learned, which is the American way of living, right? Where, for example, you can, in India, we tend to not eat reheated food. We don't tend to.
Mhm.
So all of those small things, right?
Interesting. So I would say I have kept an Indian in me, like, very much alive in my day to day life. But in general, I am a person who wants to, like, take the best out of everything. So, like, if I see something and I, like, doesn't matter if it's American or Indian or, like, from wherever the world it is. But if I like something, like, I try to incorporate it in my life. So yeah,
To those things.
and I think the American way of living is more about, focusing on yourself and doing what you like. So that is also something I have captured from that culture. Thing
One
also.
actually good example of what you're saying, focus on yourself, is so I had read about this where in India we focus on the living room, right? Where we
Mm.
make sure the living room is nice because we have guests visiting all the time, neighbors and all. And in US,
Yeah.
they are like the bedroom should be perfect first, and then we'll focus on
Yes.
everything else. It is very funny when for me, one of the shocks was when I visited Jersey. I used to live
Mm.
in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and I used to travel to New York for work, and I used to live in Jersey also. One thing that I used to keep hearing, because Jersey, Journal Square has this very Indian population, right? And you have pawn
Yes.
shops and everything, very similar to how India is. I used to listen to the music there, and it was all 1980s, 1990s
Yeah.
songs, right? Even in like 2020. So I feel like for a lot of people in Jersey who moved to US like maybe 20 years ago, 30 years ago, for them they have that same perception of India, and that happens with me as well. That happens with my wife as well. She has that perception of India from when she left India, 2011. How has India changed for you? I think you've been here now for like 10 years
Eight,
almost. Yeah.
8, 9 years. Yeah.
So how has India changed for you?
So interesting that you mentioned that, because when I first, like, landed here and I went to my uncle's place, they had moved in 1980s, and they kind of had that image of India stuck in their heads. I am like, very patriotic about India, so I did not like that fact, and I would, like, every now and then I would tell them that, oh no, India has changed a lot. So that is something I think I had kept in my mind, that I would never be this person, wherein I have this image of India in my mind and I'll stick to an era. So I think regularly going to India helps. And when I go, my husband lives in Mumbai and I live in Ahmedabad. So I try to go out as much as possible and meet people as much as possible. And in Mumbai, I use a lot of local trains. So yeah, that helps a lot in a way. Like, you will see the workforce going and coming, and you will see how, like, the clothes they are wearing, the makeup they are doing, the metros, how they work, and the music part as well. Like, I try to watch a lot of movies. As I said, I'm a movie buff, so Indian movies, listen to a lot of Indian music. That is how I think I'm very much up to dated. I watch a lot of Shark Tank as well now.
But what
Right.
is one thing that has not changed since you moved here?
That's a hard one.
You're a real patriot.
Yeah, maybe let's just say this. So it's very funny. People in lines in general, people stand very closely to each other. Like you can feel the breath of the person standing behind you on your neck. So that is something that has not changed in India still. There's no concept of personal space in public spaces.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay. What is Aura by Rutu?
AurabyRutu is my baby, and it has like scarves, loungewear, beachwear. The basis of it is slow fashion, using sustainable materials, and helping artisans back in India, incorporating their skills in my products.
Why only these products, right? Just why scarves and why not other clothes?
So when I was doing my masters in New York, we had this women and entrepreneurship week. So we were told that if you are interested, you can have your small pop up. And by that time, like from January to March, I had seen a lot of people using scarves in like their daily lives in US. So I felt that scarves were like a good product to start with. Low operational cost. There's not a lot of stitching involved. Just the designing part and finishing part was there. So I designed a collection of scarves, and I put it in my pop up in my college. And it was just limited to the college audience, and it was sold out. So I think only my pop up was sold out. Everybody else were doing like other conventional products which sell in US. Same goes with the loungewear stuff, because by nature they are not supposed to fit you very tight. So you can, like, for example, kimonos or kaftans, there is less structural design is involved. So I felt that since I was starting a new business, I should start with the products which were fun. People love to wear them. They give you comfort, and at the same time, from business perspective, I did not have to invest a lot monetarily and my time in making the fittings right.
What are your channels that you sell through?
So I sell through my own website on like Facebook Shop, Instagram Shop, and Google Shop. That's it.
Did you get help with building the website? Who helped you with that? Did you
Yes,
have to pay someone?
yes, I paid someone to design it for me.
How much time did it take for you? I know you tested your idea initially in that pop-up shop,
Mhm.
but how much time did it take for you to get started from idea, which is these are the products I want to sell, to selling, like all the steps in between, right?
I left my job in July 2019. I started working on AurabyRutu around the same time. So I wanted to go for a sourcing trip back in India. So I went there in December. When I came back, COVID happened. So all the work of like 4 or 5 months of like suppliers and factories and artisans that I figured out when I was in India, it kind of came to to halt because COVID happened, and world did not know how to survive that. So even I faced a lot of situations wherein factories got shut. The karigars, as they call, all the laborers, they went back to their homes, and there were a lot of issues surrounding that. So 2020, like I think the first wave in India, it was a complete lockdown for I think 3 or 4 months, if I'm not wrong. So that time nobody was responding. And after that, it was for me, it was like, doing the work all over again, because the factories that I had spoken to about production and stuff, One of them got shut down because they ran out of money. Some one factory I was working with for my labels and stuff, my packaging and stuff, that somehow caught fire and they also had to shut the factory. So basically, long story short, I had to do it all over again. So 2020 kind of went into redoing and resourcing and all of that. And finally, I think I launched in March 2021 when COVID was still there. But yeah, like I launched and I got good response for two things, my design and my website design, both.
So 2 years almost. And so who is your target market?
So, my target market is working women. I would like to say thought leaders. So, main age group is from 45 to 65, and then sub age group would be 30 to 45 as well.
But you also said you tested your product or your initial idea with college students.
It
It was
was
the
not just
students. Okay.
limited to the students, it was like the audience included students as well as the people who worked at the college, like professors in accounting department and all of that. So
So you set up manufacturing in India. How does the
yes.
logistics work? How do you get your like designs or fabrics or scarves delivered to US? How many scarves do you have to make?
MOQ is minimum order quantities. Back in India, it was very huge. And since we are trying to make a slow fashion brand, so what a slow fashion brand is, it's not necessarily that we are producing every 3 months. We are producing in a slow and sustainable manner. So that was MOQ was one of the challenges, huge challenges that I faced, because all the manufacturers would want 100 pieces in one design. And A, I did not want to invest so much into inventory when I was still in the trying phase. B, like sitting on that much inventory, and what if it doesn't get sold? So that was my concern. So I tried very hard to find out factories which were taking low MOQs. I did not mind paying more for that. I design and produce first and then sell. Initially, I did that. Now I am in a situation wherein I have the data of demand and what product sells more, what people are searching for. So now I like pick on a particular product, and now I have fixed suppliers wherein I can go and say, hey, I want 20 pieces of that.
How frequently do you refresh your inventory?
So yeah, twice a year we launch small collection of new products to maintain that newness for the customers. It doesn't necessarily have to be like, a set of 20 products collection. I have done something as small as like 6 products line.
What do you do with unsold inventory?
I don't go overboard and produce a lot of products. So that is something which is helping me in not keeping the dead stock.
What channel is working the best for you?
So online, as far as online is concerned, yes, Facebook, I mean, the Meta channels, Facebook and Instagram are working the best because they draw a lot of traffic to my website as well. But I,
Disclaimer, Anish, Rutu's husband, is working for Meta and he's driving the traffic, I guess.
no, he's not. Yeah, but he helps. He helps me in understanding the interface. He helped me understanding the interface and all, because for a person who doesn't know anything about IT, it could be difficult for people like me who try to like use these products.
What is your source of inspiration for design? Like, how do you come up with new designs?
I would say majorly architecture. I notice a lot of building architectures, patterns, also the home furnishing stuff that are used. Carpets, say for example, carpet designs, or in general aesthetics of any places, like say for example, if I visit a restaurant and aesthetically it is very beautiful, then I click a lot of pictures and immediately like I start getting ideas looking at those things. And out of those ideas, I start designing and create my scarves or the prints for the cover ups and stuff, the loungewear and stuff. So I have a product called Arabic Story Kaftan, wool kaftan. On Pinterest, I started searching for patterns like geometrical patterns, and I saw couple of, I don't know if it was a mosque or something else, but yeah, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, they have these mosques with beautiful interiors and architectures. So my main source of inspiration was that, and then I visited Turkey sometime last year, and they also, like, Turkey also had, for example, Blue Mosque. I think, yeah, it is Hagia Sophia, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, so those two places had beautiful architecture and interiors, so that kind of translated in that product. Then I saw flamingos in a hotel in Vegas. I think Vegas has a hotel called Flamingo, and that inspired me for my scarf. Then there's one more I'll give, summer scarf, summer story scarf. So I just thought about what are the things that resonate with people in summer, and I just literally like sketched all those things and put it in one scarf.
You were talking about slow fashion, and I like this message on your checking out your returns page, and I like this message on your returns page which says handmade by definition means a glorious uncertainty. It actually is very well said of what you're trying to say.
I don't know if there are a lot of handmade stuff which we see around us these days. But yeah, if you see anything which is handmade, there is always some sort of imperfection in it. And that is what makes it beautiful, is what I think. In the world today, there are people are used to the convenience and all of that of returns. So on my returns page, I just wanted to tell people that don't just discard something, not just from AurabyRutu, anywhere. If they buy it from anywhere, if it's handmade, it is bound to be imperfect in some or the other way. Like there is a little stroke that went out of the lines,
Yep.
or a stitch that went out of
Mhm.
the shape.
Let's talk about some of your learnings, right? One learning you already mentioned was what is you discovered what your target audience is after putting out your products, right? That age
Mhm.
group. What are some other learnings you have had? Design angle, what did you learn? Let's talk from business angle, what did you learn? Let's talk from customer angle, or users
Okay.
angle, what did you learn?
Yeah, I'll start with the design angle because so I'm a designer first and then a business person, right? So in my mind, I'll have all these complex designs and very pretty stuff uh, to create. But when you actually put the math into it, the cost and the more complex design is, it is going to be more expensive. In terms of like getting it right, and to produce it
Yeah,
is going
especially
to
it's
be
handmade,
expensive.
right?
Yeah, yeah. So from design perspective, I realized that you need to create what sells.
Any learnings from customer angle?
Yes, so one of the major, I mean, I knew that it was a huge cost on customers' part, which I'm talking about shipping cost. Because when I launched, I had kept $10 for shipping. Because for me to ship for us to ship from India, it is very expensive.
Right.
So I had kept that. And one of the well wishers, she also bought from me, and she said that she's a friend, and she said that, it is $10 is a steep amount for shipping. So maybe you want to think about it and make it easier for people to buy. Like,
Yeah, in this era of Amazon Prime, I don't think anyone
exactly.
likes to pay
Amazon
shipping.
Amazon has, like, literally they have
Spoiled the customer.
spoiled people. Yes.
Yeah.
The convenience that they offer, small businesses cannot compete with them all the time.
How difficult has it been to be in business, in the sense from your mental space, from your financial space, all of that, right? Like And who is your support system?
So when I started, there's this like huge passion in me about doing this. But when you actually do this, I would be very honest, the passion sometimes tend to fade out because you see a lot of challenges in your way, that you always tend to think that, is it just easier to do the job and get that paycheck every couple of weeks? So yeah, I would definitely say to whoever who is trying to do a business, the passion will fade out. What will keep you going is the continuity, the discipline, and the support system. And the support system is very important. I have a very supportive family. My husband, my parents, my in-laws, everybody is very, very supportive of what I do. And they are kind of like, especially my husband, he's kind of mirror drawer in front of me, because the thing that I said, that you have to make what sells and not something that you like,
Mhm.
that kind of came in a way from him, because he made sure that I don't make silly mistakes in a
Mhm.
way, because a, a creative person and a business person, sometimes they don't go hand in
Yeah,
hand
yeah.
in one person. So I think he was the common man, and he made sure that my creativity is alive still in my products.
Since you mentioned slow fashion, I think this is relevant. Have you seen the new Adobe dress?
Yes, I recently saw it. It was very interesting.
Yeah, do you think that's the future where digital world is getting into your clothes?
Partially, yes, but it can't completely change the way people dress, for sure, is what I feel.
Yeah, so for anyone who hasn't seen, it's a very new thing, but
Mhm.
basically you can change the look of your dress digitally and it would appear very different based on whatever look you select.
Right.
Maybe you can change
Yes.
the shades, you can change the design, you can change all of that. How do you deal with highs and lows to keep going?
So I think, yeah, for me, the highs and lows, like no matter how bad it is, I have figured it out that if physically I engage myself into exercise or like pranayams, I get centered by that.
Badsha had mentioned this, like he was probably under depression, and the way he came out of it was one of the factors was, continuous exercise and physical activity. What for you is you have arrived definition?
So fashion industry in general is known to be not very nice place to work for, like, the workforce. So I want to create a company wherein, like, I want to grow AurabyRutu so much that I have like a mid-sized company, not too small, not too huge. I want to create a company which is again like the base is still slow fashion, and workers from like right from the karigars to the upper level management. I want everyone to be happy in that company.
So you have an idea of, mid-sized company, but
Mhm.
is there like a monetary goal after which you would feel, okay, I think I have achieved?
Yeah, I don't know the number because everything changes and it all depends on the timeline. It's a dream to open a store in Soho, New York.
What is the future of fashion?
with respect to AI.
I think AI and fashion would definitely go hand in hand. We have brands right now as well who like use a lot of AI tools. For example, I think Ray-Ban uses AI to let the consumer know that how the glasses would look on their face. Similarly, even the clothing companies, they use AI tools wherein the customers can try the products that they are looking to buy on online itself. I also know that there are a lot of innovations in terms of textiles. People are creating many clothing items from recycled plastics and other fibers as well, like banana fibers and like apple fibers. So people are trying to be sustainable as well. So that is also something uh, innovation related that is going to happen, like more and more. Fast fashion versus slow fashion is a very challenging subject because right now people, like especially young kids, they believe in like using clothes once or twice and just discarding it. So that is where the fast fashion is getting getting the fuel from. So just to change that idea, or like educate them that this is not good for the environment, it is going to take a lot of work.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's like a lot of people still are struggling to make ends meet, and fast fashion is it's also cheaper
Cheap,
clothes, right?
very cheap,
So
yes.
your marketing strategy is
Like apart from the online, I mean e-commerce part, I do art and wine festivals, and those are like small pop-up shops, and those are the biggest, I think, successful sales events for the brand, because people can see, try and touch and feel the product, and the buying decisions are much faster there.
would you say that your operations are profitable?
It is profitable, but clothing business is such that you have to keep on investing in creating new stuff every now and then.
So you also mentioned about coping with highs and lows, and I know that you started learning about becoming a life coach. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So I am a certified life coach now, and it started, I was not in a great mental state sometime last year, and I took therapy for that. Through that, I wanted to, like, and that made me think that if I want to help people, how can I do so? And I did not want to go completely into therapy, because that only involves like trauma, psychological pain, and emotional healing. That was not something I was looking for. But in general, like, coaching is all about helping people build the desired future with some actionable plan and neuroscience based techniques. So that is what something that I do. So yeah, I just wanted to help like small business owners like me, or like in general individuals.
What would you recommend someone young following your career path, which is fashion designing, probably in India or US?
I would say if you don't have immense patience, then don't do it. And if you don't have like a huge financial backing, then that is also a
Mhm.
challenge, because mine was a bootstrapped. It is still a bootstrapped business. Yeah, when you don't have a lot of funds on your hand, every penny counts. Like whatever you spend, you have to think a lot. Also, in our case, the distance, mainly the production and factories being in India and me living here, the distance sometimes doesn't work in my favor. Yeah, you have to understand the market, I mean the market of your target customers, as well as the market where your production is done. When you work with artisans, like I started doing in India, or like small factories, they're not even factories, I would say, small corporations which has like 20 machines, 20 sewing machines, and they just operate out of that area. So when you work with that small of uh, an organization, there are a lot more challenges, because they in the beginning, like artisans, they don't know how to exchange emails, so how would I explain them?
Right.
So those were the challenges.
What are your favorite brands? Like, give me two, three, and why.
Clothing brands, you mean?
Anything like, clothing or maybe accessories or shoes, or can be anything, but in fashion space.
Yeah, so Vineyard Wines was my first job, and I really like that brand because, again, it's a mid-sized company, multiple stores across the US. The company structure or the atmosphere that they work in is quite relaxed, and like surfing and vineyards and all of that's where their inspiration comes from. The founders are also very relaxed and very happy, and they used to always make sure they speak to people and all of that. So I think in general the culture of the company was very nice, so I like that company.
But do you like them as a brand, like as a product?
Yes, that's what I was saying. So their products are also like mainly cotton based. They also work with a lot of hand embroideries, machine embroideries. Yeah, quality product is what I'm trying to say.
One more.
So okay, it's an Indian designer. Her name is Anita Dongre. The way she has created her empire, starting from a small fashion studio. Now she also has a very environment friendly factory back in India. She has also luxurious brand which is Anita Dongre label. There are a lot more retail collaborations that she has done. So business wise, what she has done with her brand, I'm a fan of that.
What are some Indian practices that you still follow in US? Keeping that Indianness intact. I know you do a lot of things, but I want to get your ideas of, or you and probably Anish, your husband, does.
I think bargaining, we don't get like a lot of occasions wherein we can bargain face to face. But yeah, my husband is a great couponer, I always say, and he would never buy anything on MRP, the concept that we have in India. Of course, like we make yogurt at home. I think okay. One thing I think which I don't see Indian expats in like houses of Indian expats is that we have this earthen pot in our house, and we drink water. We store water in that, and we drink from that pot. Like it has a small tap attached to it.
Matka.
Everybody, yes, matka, and whoever visits our place, they love it. They are always curious that, oh, where did you get this from?
Oh, actually, I
And
got one after seeing it in your place. Even we have one now. What are your challenges? What challenges do you face as an immigrant in US? I know we mostly have a little bit comfortable life, I would say, but still, there are challenges, the cultural differences, the language barriers, the accent barriers, and all of that. And anything
yeah,
else?
no, like I think language is not a huge barrier for me, at least, because we all are educated enough and we took our exams and everything, so we were trained to listen to American dialect, so to speak. So that in the beginning, yes, there was a challenge because I couldn't understand what these people were speaking, but then I used to record my classes and listen to it again and again, and then of course you get used to the dialect and accent. But yeah, in general, I think for non STEM people like me, surviving and finding sponsorship in US is extremely difficult. It was difficult when I graduated. Now it has become almost impossible.